Welcome to the Wealthy in Pajamas podcast, where it's not all about the money, but it's not about the money. I'm your host, Sonya Highfield, the Wealth Expansion Coach, here to help creatives find their real version of wealth, build profitable businesses, and be happy, healthy humans. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in today. I am so excited to introduce you all to Therese Skelly, who was one of my first coaches. I would say she was my first good business coach. And yeah, we met in 2016. Oh
my gosh.
So it's been quite a while. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.
I'm thrilled to be, especially to see how far you've come. I feel like a proud mama. You know, you got the seeds, and then so I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Well, I'm so grateful for you. And for those of you who are new to Therese, she is a transformational coach and intuitive business mentor with over 20 years of experience. She guides mission-driven women business owners to achieve greater success, joy, and financial freedom. She's also the author of the best-selling book, Love-Based Mission: How to Create a Business That Serves Your Soul. Obsessed with that title. And she brings with her a master's degree in counseling and deep expertise in psychology, marketing, selling, business energetics, and a really unique and powerful approach to her work. And I've experienced you firsthand, and so I know all that is true. And I was thinking about how we actually met, and it must have been through a Facebook group or maybe your Facebook group. I don't remember, but
it was almost 9 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
We were babies back then. At least you were.
Yeah. Somehow the stars aligned. And
there we go.
I just have to tell people. So like when I found you, I had just finished a 6-month coaching program with very well-intentioned husband and wife coaching business coaches, but like, I wouldn't say traumatizing, but deeply frustrating experience for me to have started my business with so much enthusiasm, such a clear vision, and then felt like I wasted 6 months and $6,000 and just got steered in the wrong direction. It wasn't necessarily wrong. They were just trying to fit me into a box that I didn't want to be in.
Right.
And I was so grateful when I found you. And I was also like, showed up with some specific requests and demands, I remember, because
I like that though. You knew what you needed, right? Yeah.
I was like, we have to be on video, and here's how I want to pay. And like, and you really accommodated for me, and also really, I think, saw me and held space for my vision the way I saw it.
Yeah.
I feel a little emotional about that. Yeah,
I know. I'm going to cry too, because you just barely had it. I mean, you were doing the photography.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was like, you need to be out speaking, and like this little wonderkin here, you know, you're like, oh, okay, I'll put something together. Boom. And you had like 40 people to your first live event or something like that. It was like, who does that? And so I knew that you were really destined for greatness, because you just got it so quickly and were fearless, and you still are. So that was really cool to see, and then watch you from the sidelines as you're growing. You know?
Oh, thank you. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny because in some ways, I was talking about this with my coach now. I was like, I made such big, bold moves when I was starting, but it was also because I was just starting and I was doing something so different. And so, you know, as you're on your entrepreneur journey, the bold moves look different, right? Like they evolve with you. But yeah, you really did a great job of holding space and allowing me to explore what my vision was. And I think that's just so important in the coaching space, is finding someone who like allows you to have your own vision and supports it.
Wait, what?
Right? Rather than being like,
well,
here's what I think, right?
I know, it's wild. Yeah,
that should be.
You know, Sonya, one of my top values, and especially I have adult children, and one of my top values is you have to be boldly self-expressed. I'm like, there's nothing more important to me, because I was really in a shame-based, I was afraid to talk, and I was trying to live in the boxes. And so my children, my adult boys, when I say something, they'd be like, you raised me this way. Okay. I'm going to tell you what I think. So, but I love that. And I'm so anti-formula. I'm just like, let's co-create, because here's the deal. Our souls connect. You hired me on a soul level. We hired before you hired me on a physical level. And so then I am charged with, on a soul level, like, wow, how do I help her be the best version of herself, not the Therese little put you in a box, right? Like a lot of other people do, because they follow freaking formulas. So you will hear I get very passionate about everything's got to be bespoke. Everything has to be factoring in your values and your desires. And and a lot of people miss the boat in our industry. And again, well-meaning, that's how they know, right? That's what they flow with. And it's easier to go, here's what we do in week 2. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know what we do in week 2. What do we need? Let's follow guidance, right? So it's a very different way of working. So
Yeah. But so magical.
it's very magical. And I know you work that way too. So
Yeah, absolutely. So tell people, how did you land in the place that you are?
oh my, I am so unlikely. All right. And so I want to tell you, okay, I took coaching training. I have a master's degree in psychotherapy. I had my own practice, and I did a life coach school in 2001. Do the math. That's a lot of years. And I never ever thought I would be, I'm like, oh, I was a therapist, I was a life coach, blah, blah, blah. And one day I had gone to a networking meeting, and this is so funny because I walked in and they say, what do you do? And I said, I'm a coach. And they said, oh, golf or tennis. That's how long ago it was. There wasn't a bazillion of us, right? So because of that, I then got on a newsletter from the people, and that was like, this company had us a newsletter. Like, this is how it was back. It was a wild, wild west, right? And so there was an ad that said business coaches wanted. Now, here's what you have to know. I have a criminal justice bachelor's degree. And yes, I was a prison guard. Fun fact. I also have a master's degree in counseling and worked in lots of crazy places and have my own practice. Nowhere in there was ever a business class, nor a business experience. I used to think Excel was a phone company. I didn't even know, right? And so I see this ad, and I know this is soul or guidance, because the ad says business coaches wanted, and my hands are going to the keyboard. My mind is going, are you freaking, like, wait. And thankfully my soul went out. Fill out the application. The next day I have an interview. And then the day after that, I'm a business coach. And I'm like, oh, holy hell. Okay, then. With zero experience. And yet, talk about a soul thing, the founders of the company saw something in me, and they knew that I had what it took, and they could add all the training. So I had phenomenal training, early training, but along the way, I realized, well, golly, I have so much mindset. I am so codependent. So everything that like, you teach what you need to learn, right? So I really learned, like, I can have great skills, but I'm undervaluing myself. Like, I'm really good, but I can't charge. I don't know how to talk about what I'm doing. I'm dimming my light, right? So selling and messaging and charging your worth, and that I had to scrape my way to learn that. And I love that I learned that, because that's now the work I get to do in the world. So fast forward, here I am now, doing pretty well. But that's how I got started. And so the lesson is, and I will say, Sonya, that one decision, even more than getting married, even more than having my children, which I dearly love, that one decision changed the course of my life in a way that I could not. The trajectory I was on versus the trajectory it took me to. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Right. And so we listen to the guidance of our soul, even when it sounds crazy. We do it. I'm just all about that.
And did you feel like you were listening to your intuition consciously when you went for your degrees and like kind of first, foray into
I
business?
don't,
Or were you
yeah.
more like, okay, here's a thing I could do. Like, let me just do it. Like,
Yeah, it was the first, like, okay, this is lunacy. Are you freaking kidding? Like, where there was a split where my body was leaning in and my head's going, oh, good woman, you never worked in a corporate, right? But when I went to school, it was like, oh yeah, I like this. I was, I think I shouldn't say this. As a therapist, very many people that I know came from dysfunction, and we're like the wounded healers who want to help other people. And so it was kind of a natural, like, oh yeah, I should do that. And I loved it. And that was perfect for me. Um, so it was really weird when I'm suddenly like, what? I'm coaching people on their businesses. So that was the scary thing, saying yes when it makes no sense. That's when you're in alignment. You're like, oh, I'm really listening now.
Yeah. 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 I relate to that.
Well,
Saying yes.
I'm a
It makes
photographer
no
making
sense.
good money. Oh, think I'll go over here.
Yeah. I was like, let me do something completely different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it felt completely aligned. So yeah, I get that. So I would love to hear from you. What does your version of wealth look like and feel like?
Let me take a sip of water. Hold on one second. So it's funny. I was going through, because again, I've done this a lot of years. I was going through some old stuff, and I found a program that I ran a few years ago called Wealth of the Self. And I feel like we are trained in our culture that the bar. I remember when I made like, I crossed the 6-figure mark. Okay, now I'm valuable. Right. And it's bullshit, truthfully. It's not, it's like, okay then, right? But there's this arbitrary delineation of, oh, now you mean more, you have better skills, and it's so false, right? And then I remember, Sonya, when I had the 6 figures, and I remember calling my marketing manager, crying after lunch. I'm like, I hate it. I hate this. I am a hostage to this. And so it was really like I got the coveted thing, and it was like I'm in the club now. I'm one of the cool girls now. I can say I'm a six, and then I gave it all up because it was like, this sucks. Like, this is just, it's because what they don't tell you, at least back in those days when my kids were younger, I was not my best moments of mothering. I was really distracted, and I was so chasing the glory and chasing and I've had the last number of years have been really traumatic with COVID, and my son had some mental illness and drug problems, and thank God he's great now and sober, and thank you God. But when your family is threatened, all the money in the world doesn't matter. And during COVID, and when he was so sick, I just let it go. And so then, income dipped. And it was an interesting, like, wow, okay, who am I? What do I have? Like, imagine going to a business conference or networking, and you're like, usually it's like, hi, what are you launching? What are you working on? What kind of clients are you? And I'm like, I got nothing. Like, Ted Lasso has been good to me. I mean, like because there's a oh, when I have that, then I'm acceptable. When I don't, I'm a loser. And so I really had to go to this place of like, okay, if I strip away the identification of I'm a 6-figure coach, what do I have to offer? It really messed my head up, right? And I didn't realize how addicted I was to, I'm a coach, I do marketing, I help. And then I was like, wow, what do I have? And I'm like, oh, I'm love. That's the unchanging thing. And that's wealth. So even when I went through bankruptcy 15 years ago, when I went through all the shit I've gone through with my son and health things with him, I'm like, what is unchanging for me is that I have so much love. I have beautiful family. That for me is wealth. My health is my wealth.
Yeah.
The money will come, but that's transitory. That's fleeting. It can go in a minute, right? And so I really had to deconstruct the old narrative and go, what's my truth? So that's my truth. So I would love to hear for you too.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I think it's really interesting when we take away the financial piece of
Mm-hmm.
what does wealth mean to us, right? And yeah, I feel very much the same for me, for sure. It's the connections in my life that
Yeah.
mean the most with my family, with my friends, with my husband, with my clients. Like, and I know that I have had all of my bank accounts in the negative and still had plenty of people who loved me, supported me, still had clients that were making good money, right? And so My
Yeah.
my wealth is definitely about um, honoring who I am as a human being and honoring my desires and my health needs and um, not ignoring any area of life. That's a really big thing
Oh, that's so good.
for me is
Good.
um, just not ignoring anything. And that requires a lot of navigating and like bravery, I think,
Yeah.
and honesty, right? But, and it's not 100%, in every area at all the times, but just being able to have the awareness of like, here's what's going on with me physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and
Mhm.
financially, right? All the things and not ignoring any parts of my life. So, yeah, that and joy. I think joy is a
That's my
major.
word. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Because how
Yeah.
many people that are super wealthy, that are like their health is failing, their relationships suck, they're miserable. No. And it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be black or white. You can have the
Right.
both. But to me, joy is, I love that you said that. I literally
Yeah.
have a t-shirt. Joy. I'm all about the joy. Thank
Yes,
you.
I think it's so important. And I have like some of my, go-to phrases, and one of them is don't be a miserable millionaire. And because we've seen that story. We already know you can have all the money and still be miserable if you're not taking care of yourself, honoring your joy, right?
Right, right.
So, yeah, I even if people don't want to be a millionaire, right? It's still like you can pursue your passions and the money and your health and your happiness all at the same time,
Mhm.
right?
I think that we have to deconstruct because there's so much conditioning. um it's just it literally is you are what you earn, you are what you do, what kind of car do you have, what it's just and I used to think, oh, that's a male thing, man identity. Oh, no, 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 not in this new era. The women are, I'm like, shit, it got on me. I'm older. I shouldn't have this. It got on me. Right. And I really had to deconstruct. And so after I went through such hardship there was years with my son, then I was just like, I'm in restoration. That's it. Like, I am not about, because I would try to fight with God. I'm like, I want to market. And then somebody was just like, no, you're healing. I'm like, still, what I mean? I was like, I fought for a minute, just a minute, because I'm really into surrender. But it just was like what matters most. And I would say it's finding joy, finding joy, finding joy, restoration, finding joy. And here's the wild part. This is my belief, but it's wild. When I'll tell you a story. I actually got super sick this year, Christmas Eve. I was throwing up. I was sick for 6 weeks. I had this wild, like, diverticulitis, like really screwed up. And I've never had that. I'm like, what in the hell? I had to take antibiotics, which I never do, but it was bad, right? And I had also, okay, beginning of the year, I'm gonna do some launches because now I have energy. I feel, and then I'm like, was like, uh, I'm all infected, and I'm like, okay, that's all right. My kids are here for Christmas. I'm just gonna be with my family, which I love. I'm just gonna heal. I made more money that month. It was wild. Like, people out of the blue. Somebody's like gave me an extra $700 for something I didn't expect. And clients were like, can I buy another package? And I'm like, boom. It always is proven. It's always proven to me when I follow my joy, take care of my health, honor my family, my business is always supported. But if you
Mm,
don't know that, you're going to forget the joy. You're going to struggle. And then like you're going to chase. And it's gross energy when we're chasing money, right? So
yeah.
kind of a wild experiment, and it never fails me. That is so for me. The reason I can follow the joy is because I have such faith and trust. I'm like, oh, all right, this is what my guidance is saying to do. And my little mind is like, I just want to help some people and be a marketer. Nope. Do you ever do that? Do you have that same experience as well?
So, what I was thinking about is actually that I have had that experience for sure. But I also was thinking about a time I went on vacation, and the post that I shared post vacation was, guess what? I went on vacation and didn't make any extra money. Like, didn't magically, because I think it's also that like
That's a true, right?
the,
Absolutely.
the mindset can also get you on that end, right? Of like,
Yes,
oh,
yes,
I should be able to just relax, lay back, manifest, not do anything, and like all the money will pour in. It's like,
yeah.
well, Sometimes you're just on vacation. Sometimes you're just sick. You don't have to
Yes.
be,
Yes. You don't have to be working it. You don't have to work it.
yeah, like we can all have ups and downs and different experiences. And I think there was
Yeah.
a friend of mine who used to be like, anytime I take a nap, I make money. I'm like, I love that for you. That's definitely not my reality, but I love that for you. So I think it's beautiful though. Like
It's true. Sometimes it works. Yeah. Right.
we
Right.
can have it both ways.
Well, and one of the things I've loved about you, because I've seen you grow up into the seasoned businesswoman that you are, is you're a freaking truth teller. I love that. You're like, why are we charging exorbitant prices? Let's just get prices that are aligned. I think I reached out to you and said, thank you for doing this because this pisses me off, right? We could go on that rant if you want, but I love that about you, Sonya, that you're not trying to be the pretentious. You're not trying to like, oh, I've been this in 8 years. I deserve X.
Yeah.
You're just really soulful. And I love that.
Thank you. I will say, like, over the years, I claimed the title wealth expansion coach, right, at some point. And I've triggered myself so many times with it because I'm like, wait a minute, I don't drive a Bentley. I don't live in a,
Yeah,
super
yeah,
duper mansion.
yeah.
Like, I don't have 50K months. Like, who am I to be the wealth expand? And then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm actually exactly the person that needs to be the wealth expansion coach because I know it's
Mhm.
about more than just the money. And I don't give a hoot about cars. So, like, that's never going to be my
Exactly.
version of wealth. And,
Exactly.
like permission to make a lot of money if you want, make a little bit of money if you want. Like,
Mhm.
we can do it any which way you like. So, thank you
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
saying
Love
that.
that. Mhm.
But speaking of expansion, so can you share what you have this theory around the expansion zone?
Yes.
And I love this. So tell us what that's all about. How do we get into it? How do we work with it?
Okay. This is big. All right. So, have you ever had? So, I'll talk to you as my friend here, and then I'll talk to your listeners as people getting ahead in life, right? So, you have a goal, you're like all hot on it. You're like, yes. Or maybe you've worked with a client, they're like, yes, this is what I want. And you all said it, all the strategy, and know what to do. And then 3 weeks go by, and it's like, what happened? Wait, where is it?
Yeah.
Um, so here's what I discovered because it would be maddening. I'm like, Jesus, in me and my clients, I'm not immune to it, right? That self-sabotage, that procrastination, that like, oops, I fell and broke my ankle. I can't do the work now. Whatever it is, right? Upper limits, that whatever it is. It's like, what in the world is that? Why is it that it's like I call it like gas and brakes. Like I want it, stop, but that, right? Okay,
Yeah.
here's what I discovered. It's not new, but I conceptualized it. Okay. I believe you're going to hear me talk about soul a great deal. Our souls, like if you look at the cosmos or the universe, it's always expanding, right? Like I can't even count how many leaves are on my trees. We don't know where the stars end. It's just, and we are one with that. We're like wired, we're one with nature. The thing that, moves the stars is the thing that runs us too.
Mm.
So our natural state is expansion. So for me, going, holy shit, I'm gonna be a business coach. What? That was not a 3D conscious decision. That was the wisdom that runs things was saying, this is your next iteration. Okay.
Mm.
So we are wired to do that. We're one with that. And then we're a human body. And this little body, I know you have a little toddler. Your little toddler might sometimes have been in like a little playpen, or if you have a dog, the dog gets put in a crate because we need to keep the little ones like from running across the street or chewing our shoes up or hurting themselves, right? So the goal of that is like, I need you safe. I need you kind of in this little box. Okay. So the body, like the subconscious, lives in the body. We point to the brain, but it's not really there. So when I say the subconscious, it's like it could be your ancestral beliefs, that your past history, any traumas, like all the things that make up. And its number one job is to keep you safe. That's it. It doesn't give a crap about you being self-actualized and having wealth. It's like, oh God. So here's what happens. So I call this the expansion zone because I have this, oh my gosh, I'm being pulled in this direction. I'm supposed to do this. This is calling for me. And it can be scary and it can be new. And so you either go, I'm a big yes to that, But what happens mostly is this gets in and goes, are you freaking crazy? They're never like, who are you? Sonya, you don't have the right car. What do you think? Like, nobody's going to believe you. You can't call your that, right? And that's
Yeah.
from the subconscious that is trying to keep you safe. So here you are, you set your goals. Yeah, I want to expand. Holy crap. No, you can't. You're going to be a homeless cat lady. So what I discovered when I explained this to people, that's the work. This right there, that dynamic is. And so some people like you and I follow soul guidance, like, okay, 100% go. Even if we hear it, we're like, shh, go lay down. You know what I mean? Like, nope, nope, nope. Some people are terrified of it. So they might hear it, but then they don't own it. They can't see themselves. And some people, because sadly of the safety thing in their lives, they don't get to hear it. So that's the work I do with people is like, okay, here's the guidance. How can we create safety in your body? What do we got to clear? Get context. And then I move them into like, okay, let's get in your expanded self.
Yeah.
So that's the context of it.
Yeah. And that is the work,
That's the
100%.
work. That's the work.
And, I love the work that I do with the Akashic Records because it helps so much
Yes.
with exactly
Yes.
that, right? Because so often people come in and ask questions, they get the guidance and they're like, okay, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was just scared to like
Yeah.
take action
Yeah.
on it. I'm like, well, okay, your soul knows, like they're saying yes, you
Right.
like take the
Right.
action. But it is a process. And I think it's so beautiful to honor where people are starting from and where they're coming from and acknowledge the body and acknowledge the brain, right? Like you like, okay, let's look at all the pieces. Um,
Right.
and then, yeah, a lot of times I think when we say comfort zone, it's really our discomfort zone because it's
Hmm.
we know that we have a different desire, right? And we're like, oh, I can feel the tension now of where I am and where I want
Right.
to be.
Right. Right.
And then when you get into like your expansion zone, you're really in with your desires, in with your intuition,
Yes.
right? You can
Yes.
just kind of like flow and go. And yeah, we are constantly expanding. And one
Mhm.
thing that I don't know if you've had this experience before, but there was one
Okay.
time I was meditating and I had this experience. The only way to describe it is like a massive jello mold of my body around my body. And I had this sense of like, oh, this is my energy body, which is so much
Wow.
bigger
Yes. 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 Yes.
and
Yes.
it can hold things that my little physical body can't hold.
So good. So
And
good.
that feels like it was really helpful for me in thinking about, making big moves or holding all the dualities and, complexities of being a human, right? It's like, I don't have to hold it all in my body,
That's
right?
magnificent. Right. Was expanding your capacity, right? So, or
Yeah.
being as one of the mentors I work with, it's like, okay, here's your goal. You have to be as big as the goal. Right now, you're smaller than the goal, right? Like you're like, oh,
Yeah.
me can't do that. Like, right. But your soul knows how to do it. We can
Yeah.
expand our consciousness. And then you have to wrap in the identity. I am that. I am that woman. Not, oh, I have to do that. Or I can maybe do it. It's I am that. Really shifts everything when we pull in the identity piece. So do you see listeners why none of this is a formula? So what this girl and I are talking about. This is you can't just go, okay, get out your worksheet for week 3. And sometimes we might have worksheets in our programs, but this really yummy expansion work that we both do, it takes somebody really special. Like what you said, I loved it. You said you listen to me. Because and see, back 8 years ago, almost 9 years ago, I didn't have language. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I think was I using a pendulum or was I standing up? See, now I use a
Yes.
pendulum. I was
Yeah.
okay, because I used to stand up and muscle test. It would be very weird. I'd be like, hold on, let me figure out that. And I'd be like, and so I've come a long way. But so I didn't know the words, but the essence of the work was in me. Right. Like, no, I have to see you. It's my job to midwife this out of you. And so whatever mentor you're gonna get, find one that does what Sonya and I do. Otherwise, we've all had the experience of like well-meaning people. Well, you don't want it badly enough.
Yeah.
No,
Like, all
that's
right,
not it. Actually, you're not on the right path with me. And
yeah.
bless them. We'll just bless them. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Like, okay, I'll just go live in a tree then because nothing is gonna happen. Um, yeah, and so I wonder too, like I personally don't like to shit on the coaching space because I think that there's so many amazing humans doing
Yes,
great
yes,
work and that
yes.
it is so helpful and transformational. And I absolutely see and have experienced um, people really causing harm and
Yes,
trauma
yes, yes.
through these avenues of coaching and just like online business space in general. Um, do you want to share maybe a positive thing that you've seen? Because since you've been in this space for so long, like, is there a positive shift in trend that you have
Oh my
seen come
gosh.
about?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I started in 2000, probably I jumped in the business space in 2004, and I was a marketing strategist. And it wasn't until about 2008 that, I kind of crawled up from the rock and I'm like, no mindset, right? But we could not use words like intuition, goddess, energy. You could not talk about energy body, you freak, right? That was for the weirdo healers that nobody took seriously. And I remember when I was in a Glazer Kennedy mastermind, and if you know those names, it was like a big deal. And I was talking about my intuition. It's probably 2010. And the men in the room are like, we don't really like that word. Okay. So those were the golden days. And now what I love is the transparency, the authenticity, the like I can say, hey, my kid was sick and my business revenues plummeted because I was choosing to take care of my kid. You can say, I don't have a Bentley. Sometimes I used to feel like a fraud. So to me, what's magical, I think in the olden days, the currency was the external. Oh, literally, it was so gross. It was like, here's a screen capture of my accounts, and then here's the Bentley in the driveway. And it was just this male ego gross shit. And now it's just, I don't need to make $1 million. I'm really happy with where I am. Like it's people being so real, so authentic. I think vulnerability is kind of the new black, if you will. The currency of connection is so much greater now than the kind of predatory marketing practices. And so you and I are both like intimacy driven people. We crave the connections, not like, how can I pull myself out and charge them more? I'm like, how can I give them more? You know what I mean? Like, and so there's some just really wonderful things now. Like it's just, and I think the distinction I know in my mastermind groups that I run, it's like we're like, I love you too. It's not for me anyway, hierarchical. I'm
Yeah.
not unreachable. There's not 3 layers between me and the client. I'm just like, and they know I love them and they love me back. So
Yeah.
that's what I love about it.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that you're a great example of someone who's like intuitive, spiritual, grounded, and also successful and helps
Mhm.
people, honor, go after their big dreams, their
Yes.
big money goals, right? Because you absolutely do help people with that. And, I've seen many of your clients like have really big financial wins, but I think it's also great to see someone who yeah, like isn't sitting in their McMansion and talking about money in a bathtub and be like, oh, I can be successful as my real self, you know,
Exactly.
just
Matters the most.
exactly who I am, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, tell us a little bit about your book before we wrap up.
I wish I had a copy, like how irresponsible that is. The book is called, it's about, because I wrote it from the mindset of what is in the way. Remember I came from a therapist background and I would really see like codependency, like women were so focused on, I have to care for everybody. I can't do this because my mother needs this. And who would they think I am? And as opposed to, it's like your greatness is spent here, as opposed to what's your big mission?
Mm,
Like what's in the way of you just blowing it up and getting visible and getting your message out in the world. So it shares some of my personal journey, shares a lot about shame, the concept of shame and how that impacts us, and codependency. And so I wrote it about 4 years ago. It's still very good. It's a super easy read, like really easy read. And it's got like a lot of journaling exercises, super easy. You could read it in half a day. So
beautiful. Okay, I
yeah.
love it. And I'm sorry I haven't read it yet, but now I'm going to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Therese, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your story. Tell people where can they find you?
Facebook, Therese Skelly, and thereseskelly.com. So super easy. And I have a free gift if I can share about that.
Yes, tell us.
Okay. So this is a little bit generic because I never know if it's only business listeners or other people, so this is a twofer. Okay. This is called, I'm a teacher on Insight Timer as well. So I do meditations on the platform of Insight Timer. So I love these two meditations. And I didn't realize, I'm like, oh, I kind of have a thing about meditation. People love my meditations. Like I apparently have a very nice voice. And and they're always like channeled. I don't write them out. I literally channel. So that to me is more special. So this is basically like the business confidence meditation pack. So the first meditation is like 8 minutes. And the meditation is you are powerful. You're powerful. So you can be in business or just a mom or a job, but how nice to remember how powerful you are. And then the second meditation is business confidence meditation. So it's just helping you like, yeah. So like 15 minutes total, 2 meditations, super easy. And that'll get you in
Love
my work.
it. Oh, I love that. I love a good channeled meditation. So
Yes,
I will
yes.
take you up on that. Everyone, make sure to go check out Therese on her website and check out the book. And we'll put the links so you can grab these meditations, which sound amazing. Therese, is there any other little like wisdom nugget that you'd like to leave people with?
Yeah, I follow the desire, right? Because what I say to people is if it's in your heart to do it, you're supposed to do it. That is from God. That is your soul's mission. Don't talk yourself out of it. And make sure you find mentors like Sonya and I that hold you and see you and don't have an agenda for the path you have to be on. Like be really discerning about that, right? If you're feeling like, I don't know if they get me, run. And if you're like, interview people based on their values, what are your values? What matters most? Not, wow, you had 7 people that are 7-figure. No, check your values. Because that to me is like your values and your energy. If you have a young kid, I'm not going to have you hustle. Right? I'm the anti-hustle coach. And so who would work with you that would see you and have similar values, and then a process to get you to where you want to go. Just be really discriminating and don't just fall for the marketing.
Beautiful. Love it.
Okay.
Stand behind it.
Of course you do.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. And thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey all, thank you so much for tuning in today. It would mean the world to me if you could subscribe, share, and leave a review so more people can learn about this work and access their true wealth. And if you'd like to continue your wealth work, please pop onto my email list so you can choose your own wealth adventure, whether that's applying for one-to-one coaching, accessing my DIY content, or staying tuned for upcoming wealth boosting programs. You can find all that at the following link, bit.ly/wealthypjs, PJS, bit.ly/wealthypjs. Join me there and let's get wealthy.